Hey folks, what's up? Hope you guys can hear me right now. It's like 45 degrees out. Got like a 20-mile-an-hour wind, so I'm trying to find a little bit of shelter down here. Try to readjust my camera. Trying to find a little bit of shelter so I can throw a spinnerbait around underneath this bridge near the pylons. See if we can pull up a few bass. Hopefully this video will be short. It won't take us long to catch a couple, but tough conditions today, so might just be one of those days where we just don't get anything because, I mean, we've got northwest winds today. It's just horrible. Sucks being out here. But we're going to try our best to catch something, okay? There we go. Come on, buddy, stop flopping. All right, stop. I've got you. Stop. Don't poke me. Come on, dude. Come on. Stop it. There we go. Got ourselves a nice little chain pickerel here. One of the species I forgot does like to come out in the cold weather, and they're also still fun to catch, especially on spinnerbaits this time of year. I mean, this is a decent little guy. We're gonna throw him back, see what else we can get. What I hate catching these guys are a snot rocket. All because my hand is completely covered in slime down there, so hard to hold. But if you live in an area that have pike, pickerel, muskie, anything like that, just be aware that when you do fish colder temperatures, you know, you're gonna run into possibly one of those toothy critters. Just don't ever stick your finger in their mouth. I've seen a lot of people that have caught them and did not pay attention to these guys. Have some pretty sharp small teeth, and I mean, watched a few guys have to rush to the hospital because they decided to stick their finger in their mouth and lip them like a bass. Don't ever do that. That's a huge mistake. You see, I grab them firmly right behind the gills as hard as I can. If you have a rag, that's also good, especially for cleaning your hand off afterwards, because now I'm wiping my hand on the log that I have you guys sitting on. But again, on the greens, you can see he kind of pulled out my arm there, and all I do is I really just flex it back and take this and I'll pinch it back down a little bit, make sure it still runs in line, and also line it up. And what I look for is, does this arm match my hook? Now you can see there's my hook. You can see if I make that point of my hook straight with its shaft, I can look and see how far I do need to tune that bait. And it's as simple as that. So in case you guys, you know, are wondering how to tune a spinnerbait, that's how. Or at least that's how I do it. Let's catch another one real quick. Another hit. Oh no, don't tell me it's happened. Of course, one of the things that you will run into is a bird nest. What I like to do, especially on my bait casters, is I will loosen. I'm also going to show you how to fix up your bait casters while I'm doing this. So this is actually a perfect time to do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my my knobs, and I'm just going to loosen them all the way, okay? Not completely to where they're going to fall off, but just enough to where it's pretty much completely free spooled. My dial on the other side, all the way to 0. Or past it, whatever, I don't care. Now what I'm going to do is I'm slowly going to thumb out. I'm going to try to just easily pull this string out and guide that giant mess around everything else. And if I pay attention, I watch the small pieces that are getting tangled, I'll see which ones are causing the problem, and I can pick them out. And it's going to help me pull this bird nest out. And as you can see, it's just coming right along. But again, pay attention to the small little tiny loops that you get in here, all these loops, and figure out which one has the most tension on it. Start trying to pick them out. This is annoying too. This is the worst part about bait casters. And there we go. I'd say we're about halfway through this bird nest already, just because I'm sitting here picking. Honestly, let me see if I can keep this on the camera for you. I'm sorry, I'm trying to duck out of the wind. And as you can see, my reel is now just about all fixed. So for me, this is the easiest way without using a pick or a needle or anything that could damage my line to get a giant bird nest out of my reel. And I'm sure you guys can see that. We're getting down to it. Voila, all free. I'm sure you can see the amount of time that it took me to do that, a minute or two, which I would much rather do that for a minute or two rather than clip the line and pull a whole spool out and have to sit here and re-spool in front of you guys, because that's going to take way longer than a minute or two. And I know talking is also eating up time too, but that's how I pick out bird nests. So maybe that's a tip that you guys can carry with you. Now, how do I put my bait caster back the way I want it? I'm going to start by tightening my first knob all the way, well, not all the way back down, but until I start to feel a decent amount of tension on it. And actually, yeah, just about all the way down until it feels finger tight and finger snug. And then here on this side, I'm going to turn this up because the dial goes from 0 to 10. And because I'm fishing in the wind and I don't want that backlash to happen that bad, I'm turning it up to 8. I'm going to hit my button. I'm going to watch how my line drops. Now that's open. My line's not dropping. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back and adjust my first knob. until that bait slowly falls. Ready? And when it hits the water, you shouldn't have anything, you shouldn't have a backlash, shouldn't have anything like that. So that's how I adjust my bait casters. And it took me probably 2 spools of string when I first started fishing with bait casters a few years ago to really figure out how to get through that whole scenario. I wasted a lot of string because I did not understand bait casters at all. So let's get back out here, see if we can catch another one. Now this is also another important part of making sure that all your line is back on. I still have a small loop that's coming, that seems to have worked its way out down here from where I first originally fixed it. I'm going to cast my line all the way out, pull out that little bit until it is absolutely smooth. Keep my fingers on it, pinched on this part of the line. Reel it in, get tension on your bait, and then let go and start to reel back in. Now let's see how it works. In case you're wondering what that pop was, I smacked my tackle box and knocked my rattle loose. There's another one, folks. Don't know what it was. I kind of realized he was on there at last minute. So it kind of went from being a fishing video about, I guess, fishing spinner baits and greens and browns to just some more tips and tricks, but we're still having fun nonetheless. I'm hoping that at least tips I gave you on fixing your reels and your bird nest will help you. So obviously nothing's helping me right now. wind is coming through the bridge, or underneath the bridge, still so strong it's hard for me to get an accurate cast. And also, I'm not that far from the top either, so once again, my spinnerbait is just kind of going wherever it wants to go with the wind. But the one thing I am noticing is that the deeper I slow roll this spinnerbait, the more hits I am getting on it. So we're not going to stay out here too much longer. I'm not going to keep you folks in suspense all day long waiting for me to catch another fish. Give a couple more casts, and I think that'll be it for this video. And I'll probably upload another video tomorrow or the following day. So let's try a few more casts and see what happens. And again, pretty much dragging it right along the bottom as close as I can. I get a bite. It's probably one of the situations that you should have a trailer hook on. Like I said, I don't know if it's a crappie, if it's a small bass, or if it's just a pike coming up and swiping at it. I don't know if the rattles are getting in the way. It's all a learning experience for me too. There we go. So it's a small little largie. Not bad. You know, like I said, we're gonna go ahead and get this guy back. But another thing that you want to look at, if you see this fish's eye, it's kind of just set right there, so they're feeding suspended. I also look at the eyes, and I'll also look inside their mouth at these small little bristles right here. And that's going to tell me two things. Also, here you go, perfect example. So if you look, his eye is kind of positioned just slightly downwards, okay? Which means he's starting to look more towards the bottom. He's sitting suspended in the water column. And two, those bristles, they're not red and beat up, which means, and they're a little sharp, which tells me that right now he's feeding primarily on shad and any type of bait fish. He needs those bristles to be a little bit stronger, to be more like Velcro, something that's going to hold on to that bait fish a little bit more. When their eyes actually start to gravitate more towards a downwards looking position when you look at them, it means that they're primarily feeding more on crawfish, which is pretty much what this guy is getting ready to start doing. He's going to start hunkering down closer to cover, closer to the bottom where it's a little bit warmer. And he's going to start looking for something that's high in protein and his smaller little snacks. And that's where we're going to get into some micro jigging and stuff like that this winter as well, so I can show you guys about that. But so far, I think that's what was hitting my line there a few times. I threw it right up against the piling, well, in between the pilings, and brought it back, and he just seemed to come out and grab it. Well, you saw, he almost right away. Didn't take very long for him to zero in on it. But again, like I said, spinnerbaits are a huge confidence lure for me. I fish them all year long. So when it's 45 degrees out and you've got a 20-mile-an-hour wind, and you don't know what to throw, go with, and another thing too, one bait that I do like to use when it's tough conditions and I don't know what the fish are going to hit on, and I don't see a lot of people throwing it anymore, is a Carolina rig. Get a 12-inch worm and use a Carolina rig. So